Meanwhile, a D.C. appeals court is expected to make a decision over the pause on Trump's criminal migration deportation flights to El Salvador. House Speaker Johnson met with the House Judiciary Committee, is doing so today, expected to discuss countering the judges blocking Trump's agenda. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan also planning a hearing early next week on these activist judges, expecting a House-wide vote on a bill which blocks the judges from issuing injunctions, Congressman. Is this doable? What's your take here?
I think it's something I would support that. Okay, I don't like the idea of one single unelected judge being able to stop the executive branch. Now, this is the balance of powers. Congress passes a law. The problem is that law is often vague, and so the executive has its interpretation of that law, and then a judge, the judicial system, has its interpretation of that law. So what we're doing here in Congress would be exactly what we should be doing, which is to clarify the law. And I hope that would be taken up in the Senate as well.
How much do you think these cartels are making by trafficking people into America? I mean, they've been running our border now for 4 years until President Trump came back. They're making billions of dollars. Do you have an estimate?
Yes. So in 2022, we know that it's about $13 billion a year. Because of President Trump, they're making nothing because the border is closed. But they still make a ton of money off of regular businesses. They extort people in Mexico constantly. They tap into oil pipelines and steal oil. They obviously sell a lot of cocaine and a lot of drugs. And they sell a lot of fentanyl, which is killing Americans on the street. So again, our strategy has to be a counterinsurgency strategy against a terrorist network that is also flooding our streets with fentanyl. The Mexican government's going out every night going after these guys, by the way, in Sinaloa. They post about it. They're going after the Sinaloa cartel because that's the biggest producer of fentanyl. So in the short term, we have to deter them from producing more fentanyl. In the long term, we have to stop Mexico from becoming a narco state. And that's good for Mexico and that's good for us.
Can we do that, though? I mean, it feels like it's close. We were just looking at these pictures of these Tren de Aragua, really terrorists, and the president has deemed them a terrorist organization. We're trying to get them out of the country, but these judges aren't making it easy.
Yeah, no, we absolutely can do it. Mexico now wants to extradite as many as they can. Like, I mean, it's in their interest to do so because when they have bad guys in their jails, they still operate. They still make money. I mean, they've told me this. They gave us a longer list of people they wanted extradited than we even extradited. You know, but the problem is we have to have a warrant for them to be extradited as well. So it absolutely is possible. Look, we're talking about passing a reconciliation bill between the, whether it's the Senate or the House bill, you're looking at $200 to $300 billion worth of money for the border is what it's tagged for. We can't spend that money on the border. If you take a fraction of that and put it in what I would call a North America Security Assistance Initiative, you would frame it off the Ukraine Security Initiative, but make it a North America one. Maybe we make it North America first, because I think President Trump would like the sound of that. You take a fraction of that money and you put it into resources that the Mexican government will finally use, and I'm talking about things like close air support for their military operations, additional training and help for their judiciary system from our DOJ attorneys, ISR, intelligence and surveillance equipment for them to use. Make it, don't infringe on Mexican sovereignty. We're not talking about unilateral operations here, but we're talking about empowering the Mexicans to take their country back. And there is a strategy to do that, and it doesn't need to be incredibly expensive either. You could do a lot with, again, just a fraction of what we're talking about in reconciliation.
Well, so that's what you're talking about in terms of this select committee that you want to see created just on the cartels. Would the president go for that, even though he's putting tariffs on Mexico right now?
Oh, I mean, he's putting tariffs on Mexico because he wants them to do more. And, I think a lot of the Mexicans who go and actually take on these cartels were even happy about that because it gives them some political backstop to do what they wanted to do anyway. So no, there's no daylight between us. I've asked President Trump exactly about this, and he goes, "Dan, you want to kill the cartels, right?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Good, me too." I mean, everyone thinks this is a good idea. There shouldn't be any real opposition to this. And what I tell people is, look, we're not going to be able to create professionalized legislation on this issue without some kind of professional staff and some kind of committee doing it. And I've been leading the task force on this for over a year. We've done a lot. We have a lot of interesting solutions. we need to bring those to their full extent. And I don't have nobody working for me. We have no staff or money to actually do it. We need to get to work. This is the time to do it.
For sure. And now the Congress is seemingly getting to work on that reconciliation package. But all of a sudden, you've got a new issue thrown in everybody's lap. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is pushing back on the Atlantic's reporting. The Atlantic claims that highly sensitive war plans were sent to a journalist in a Signal group chat. Here's the Defense Secretary yesterday. Pete Hegseth, watch.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that.
No one was texting war plans. Dan, it seems this was obviously a mistake. The guy was put on the chat. Your reaction and the threat here?
Yeah, look, it's a mistake, and we got to move on. You know, if Secretary Hegseth says there was no classified information, I'll take him at his word until I see otherwise. The texts that were published in the paper, obviously, it's not great. You don't want to be adding journalists to what is a sensitive conversation. But I didn't see anything that even came close to meeting the level of classified. But I also don't know. So if Mr. Hegseth is saying that, I'll take him at his word.
Congressman, thank you for going to Mexico City and for continuing this fight against the cartels. We all owe you a debt for that. We appreciate your time this morning, sir. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Maria.
All right.